afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and apologies for lack of update last week. I did have some updates after having spoken to and received an update from Baz. In fact, I've also received another update this week with regards to the final inspection of all the components, i.e. Conrods, pistons, and the engine block and stuff. So can't quite remember where we were with the last one, but I think this is pretty much going to be an up to date proper update, like it was supposed to be last week with regards to the engine. So you might recall, I think I mentioned it on the last video, that I've decided to go non-MI liners this time, because quite frankly, with this engine, with the level of compression, having spoken to Baz, we don't feel that he needs Mi16 liners in it with regards to how it's going to be used. There's not going to be, I was considering at one point of putting it on the track, but that idea is long since gone, because I don't really want to get the paint rashed and hammered. So we decided to go with standard liners back in the engine. So that was one decision made. So Baz and the team got to work on inspecting the engine block and components. My main concern, obviously, were with the concerns with the liners and the crankshaft, after having obviously shown you in the previous video the slight scoring on the crank race itself, on the surfaces. Yeah, I wasn't particularly happy with that, but it's now been polished. There were two options. First option was having it reground. Second option was if you recall, I said on my last episode, to have it polished with a slight, consequent of having a slight decrease in oil pressure. So I went down that road, and at the minute the budget is pretty tight. Obviously there wasn't the budget to start with at the beginning of the year, because this really obviously wasn't planned. So yeah, the crank has been polished. So with regards to the head gasket, obviously you might recall there was a Cometic one on there. I had another conversation with Baz with regards to that, and I've decided that I'm not going to replace it with a Cometic item. I'm going to replace it with a Victor Reintz gasket, and as Baz was saying, they produced the head gaskets for the Group A Cosworth engine, YB engines. Exactly the same composition head gasket, and if it's good enough for Cosworth and a Group A car, then it's definitely good enough for me and the Mi16. So that was another key decision made. Bearings, rings, main bearings, big end bearings, going to be pretty much OE spec equipment. Piston rings, again OE equipment, standard. So the base engine block itself was fully stripped down, liners removed, vapor blasted, fully inspected, and I've got a couple of images to show you that Baz has sent. They had a look at the top of the block, and it was slightly out of shape. The top was out of shape, so they've had to there'll be a photo popping up, I'll show you in the photo. It wasn't quite right, so they had to machine the top of the block to try to get it level again, which again justifies my decision to get it sent down to Thurston Engineering and to Baz, because had I clapped down the liners, I'd have been blissfully unaware of the issue of the fact that the engine block, the deck, wasn't really right. So they've machined it to get it as close as they possibly can to being, you know, pretty much spot on. So yeah, vindicated on that front, because obviously I wouldn't have had the equipment here to measure it, really, you know, i.e. straight edges and stuff like that. So that's been taken care of, as you can see in the photo I've just shown. So moving on from that, the Conrods and the pistons have all been inspected now. Basically, a couple of the Conrods were slightly ovaled, so they've been honed and are now concentric. So all done and dusted on that front. The piston skirts and the ring grooves and stuff have all passed muster as well, so they're good to go, which is reassuring in terms of obviously cost. So it's all good. I sent the oil pump obviously down with the engine, and Baz has found out. I thought it was an Mi16 pump, but it's actually a 306 GTI 6 pump. So they very rarely have any issues, as Baz was saying. They're very reliable. So what I'd like to do is to hang on to the pump, reuse the pump, and have the chain replaced. And this is where Baz discovered that it wasn't an Mi16 pump, but an F306 pump, Mi6 GTI 6 pump, because there's different size of chain. So he's ordered a new chain for that, so that will then be reinstalled on the engine as it's being rebuilt. So he's set now really to rebuild the engine. So I've been talking to him, and basically I'm in no rush. I'll be completely honest. It's going to be a really busy 4 weeks. We're going out away in the camper van, and there's lots of stuff I've got to do in the house. There's stuff I need to sort out. Not least of which is redecorating the living room. So I really wouldn't have the time at the moment to get all the bits back on the engine and to put the engine back in the car. So I've told guys that I'm in Baz, that I'm in no rush to get the engine back for this side of Christmas. Absolutely no rush. My deadline, and like I've said before, is to get it all done and dusted and finished, and MOT, because obviously the MOT's run out now, by the end of March. And the car is still insured. I'm still insuring it because obviously I need to, protect it. But I want to get it ready for next year's show season and cars and coffees and meets and stuff like that, which I've really missed this year. And I want to get to that point. I'll be a happy man. So obviously there'll be a process of running the engine in. So I'll look to Baz at that point to see what he recommends in terms of that. So yeah, it's in a good position. It won't be too long before I get it back. But things are coming together very slowly. And it won't be very long before it's back in the hole, in there, and we can hear it running again, which I really can't wait. I miss it. I miss it a lot. Yeah. So I can't wait to get it back in there, get it started up, get it running, MOT'd and running, and just get to enjoying it again. And of course, having this on the top when you lift the bonnet, should make a difference. Oops, forgot they weren't attached. But yeah, it look pretty good under the bonnet. It looked pretty good under the bonnet. So another decision I made, obviously I had a conversation with Baz, is I'm not going to refit the paddle clutch back in on the car. I'm going to hang on to it, but I'm not going to refit it on the car, because I'll be honest, although it was, when you're out on the open road and you're moving, it was, you know, it's really good. But to be completely honest, it's a fucking nightmare in built-up traffic, and it's, you know, my left calf, I'm sure, is twice as big as my right calf, or excuse me, or it was. So I'm not putting it back. I'm going to hang on to them. I'll have the clutch plate. I think it's pretty close to wanting to be realigned, but I'll hang on to them for now, in case, you know, I might change my mind and decide that I want to crack on with it and take this on the circuit at some point. But we'll see. I hang on to them. You know, they're not exactly cheap items to buy, so I'll hang on to them. And then what I'll probably end up doing is putting an LUK or a Valio clutch in this. So I've been assured. You know, Baz was saying that a standard clutch would be more than man enough to deal with the horsepower on this. So yeah, so that's pretty good. So I need to order a clutch kit in after Christmas, in the new year. There's a few bits I've got a new manifold gasket, exhaust manifold gasket even. I'm going to reuse the PTFE Thermatech gasket. I'm pretty sure that'll be good to reuse again. I've had the donut ring for the downpipe, the piece where it seals on for the rest of the system, so I've had one of those. I bought a few different consumable bits. Jubilee clips I've now got to replace the old ones on the hoses. I've bought the coolant. I haven't bought the oil yet. I've got a couple of spare filters now, new ones that I've bought. With regards to, obviously, I'll have to change one after a few miles of running in, put another one in. I'm going to go back to using Total Quartz 1040 oil in the engine. So yeah, I'm pretty good, pretty well sorted. It's just obviously getting hands onto it when the engine's come back. So I'm not quite sure what to do yet with when the engine's finished, whether I go down and collect it myself with the camper, or whether I get it couriered back up. I'm not sure yet. I'll make that decision in the new year, which way to go with collecting it. So that's that really. And there's not a great deal else I can tell you, to be honest. There's one job I forgot that I needed to do, and that's the servo unit on the car. As per 205, I've had a little bit of hydraulic brake fluid leaking, and it's just created a little bit of a patch where the paint's come away from the metal. So I'm going to give that a quick scuff down and a quick paint over, because it will look shit with the engine back in if I leave it the way it is. So I'm going to give that a nice skim of satin black. And other than that, really, we're pretty good to go. So yeah, in a good place. I'm in a good place with it. So as per usual, thanks for watching. I'm hoping the photos that I've showed you will give you a rough idea on you know, or an idea on the quality of work that happens, the lads do in Thurston Engineering. The engines, as you've seen, the block is just absolutely gleaming. Once, you know, with it having been vapor blasted, it's like a new engine. Really good. And when I get it back, it will pretty much be a new engine. and that will bring a lot of peace of mind with it, to be honest. I'd had massive amount of confidence in it, having driven down to Gloucestershire with it last year, and it didn't miss a beat, didn't use any oil, any water or anything. Just absolutely, I was chuffed. So I just absolutely gutted, really, that the injector did, you know, what happened. So they're the only things really I haven't sorted. I need to get them sorted. I'm not sure whether I'm going to get them serviced, tested and serviced, or whether I'm going to buy new. But I need to dive in and have a look at that and see what the cost comparison is, really. I'm leaning on buying new ones, to be completely honest, because I'm a bit paranoid now, or I would be having those on the engine. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. So the plan is have a look at the injectors over the Christmas and the festive period, and see how I go from there. So yeah, as ever, thanks for following me. Thanks for being patient. I know it's a ghost town at the minute, but things will get busier. There will be weekly updates again. Next week, I'm not sure whether I'll have anything at all to divulge. So I'm not quite sure. So it'll probably be fairly quiet now before Christmas. But as ever, thanks for following me. Thanks for subscribing. And as ever, take care, look after yourselves, stay safe, and enjoy the festive period. And I will speak to you at some point before Christmas. Catch you soon.